Okay, guys. So as promised, I said that I was going to go through your assessment and I'm going to talk you through the mark scheme. Now, I have annotated this already. I will make sure this is on the class notebook for you where you can easily see it, and I will attach the video to that class notebook and also to Teams for you so that you can do this as part of your prep. Now, I'm really hoping you can see my screen. It doesn't actually come up like it is. Oh, it is recording. Okay, perfect. So, as we go through the questions, I am going to talk you through the exam question. I'm also going to talk you through the most common mistakes that most of you made. Okay, so the first question is nice and easy. Okay, say it's nice and easy. It is nice and easy when you read it properly. Okay, so the first question talks you through a bacterium. Okay, it starts off with a funny word. It says P. multocida, okay, which is the name of this specific bacterium that causes cholera in chickens. The diagram shows the bacterium. So I have a handy diagram that I can compare to, okay? Now this bacteria is a prokaryotic cell, okay? This is a prokaryotic cell. Now your question asks you, okay, to give two structures in this bacterium, in this prokaryotic cell, that is also found in a eukaryotic cell. Now, eukaryotic cells are my plant and animal cells. So you need to compare your diagram here, okay? So the diagram that I've got in front of me with my handy labels on it, okay? So all I want to know from these labels here, which two of these are also found in my plant and animal cells, okay? And the nice easy answer, you've got cytoplasm or ribosomes or cell membrane or DNA, because my nucleoid is actually referring to DNA. They've been a bit sneaky here. Normally they call this chromosomal DNA, okay? Which we also have in our nucleus, okay, but they don't have a nucleus, so to speak. Now, some of you mistook nucleoid for nucleus and you wrote nucleus. That is not the same thing. Okay, some of you just wrote down additional organelles that are in eukaryotic cells, okay, that aren't also in this cell. So, for example, some of you were saying mitochondria, some of you were saying cell wall. Now, I can't give you cell wall because in all eukaryotic cells, animal cells are also a eukaryotic cell, and animal cells do not have a cell wall. Only plant cells have a cell wall. So I can't give you the mark, okay, for cell wall because the question says, okay, so they're very sneaky sometimes, all right? So that's the first question, 2 marks. You get a mark for each one of those, okay? So if you gave 1 out of 2, you would have got 1 mark, okay? If you gave 0, 0, okay? So the next question was talking about stem cells, but the question was within the context of an embryo, okay? And that is because most of the time stem cells are found in embryos because that is where a lot of our growth and development begins, okay? As an embryo, we have to develop into a fetus, okay? And then eventually we become a baby when we are born, okay? Then we keep growing from there. So this question talks about differentiation. Now, cell differentiation is the process of them becoming specialised. Okay, so to differentiate, they are becoming specialised, okay, for a specific function. Okay, so this is when a stem cell, okay, as an undifferentiated cell, okay, because that's what stem cells are. As an undifferentiated cell, I become specialised to become a skin cell. I become specialised to become a red blood cell. I then become specialised to become a nerve cell. Okay, those are all different stem cells can become all of those types of different things from an embryo. Adult stem cells cannot become all of those different stem cell types. Sorry, adult stem cells can only become a limited number of cell types. Okay, so for example, adult stem cells found in the bone marrow can only become blood cells. They can only become white blood cells, red blood cells, okay, platelets, okay? They can't become brain cells. They can't become nerve cells, okay, because they are very limited. All right, and that's the difference between the two. I do think some of you forgot to totally revise stem cells. All right, but they will come up as a small question like this, or it will be linked in with an ethics question, because there are ethical issues surrounding the use of stem cells in medical research, and we'll talk about that in one of your next questions. Okay, so to answer this question that says explain the importance of cell differentiation in the development of a growing embryo, I want to know why it's important for my embryo, okay, to have specialised cells. Okay, so to answer this question here, I need to say that cell differentiation is where stem cells become specialised. So I need to have the word specialised in my answer here, okay, or describe them becoming specialised. So, for example, you could say cell differentiation is where stem cells develop into red blood cells or muscle cells and have a different function. That would have got you 1 mark. And some of you did say something like that, so would have got 1 mark for this question, okay? You then need to tell me why that's important. Why is it important for an embryo to have different specialised cells? And the reason that is so that I can have tissues and I can have organs, okay? So the embryo cannot have tissues or organs without having specialised cells. Okay, so my specialised cells then go on to become tissues and organs, and that is your second marking point for that question. And then you have a multiple choice question, which I know this one was a little bit naughty of me. Sorry, I keep touching my Surface Pro and it doesn't like me. This question here is a little bit naughty because I haven't talked to you about anything about how cells divide. We haven't done cell division yet. That comes in when we talk about reproduction. Obviously, you know that cells become other cells and that cells can produce more cells. That is technically cell division. Okay, but some of these words you don't know. So some of you made the assumption that, oh, the only answer that I don't know is this one, it must be it. Okay, but when we have multiple choice questions, they're quite easy. I say quite easy because when you're faced with it and you don't necessarily know the answer, it's not easy. But there's always an answer that you can automatically eliminate, and that makes it easier. Okay, and the answer for that is that stem cells do not divide. We know they divide because they have to become other cells. Therefore, they divide. Okay, so that's the obvious wrong answer here. So I'm going to put a line through this. Please don't do this in your exam. I'm going to highlight it. That's wrong. Okay. I know that C is wrong because I'm talking about adult stem cells. C is wrong because I know they can't become all cell types. They don't divide by meiosis. Okay. And that is because as we go through this, obviously this is an example of how your questions are synoptic. This might be a topic 1 question, but it's also linking in topic 11 in with reproduction, because I don't talk about meiosis until we get to reproduction. But meiosis technically is the type of cell division that forms your sex cells. Now, sex cells, okay, are your sperm and your egg, and adult stem cells are not sperm or egg, okay? Therefore, I know it's not divided by meiosis. So the correct answer is D. They're found in some tissues and organs. That's where we get adult stem cells from. Now you will notice on this question, the multiple choice question, I have put an X through the white lines in the box. That's really quite important to do because these questions are actually marked by a computer. They're not marked by a human. Okay, so they get put it through a computer and it detects where or not light is reflected from. Okay, and that one where there is no light reflected is your answer. Okay, so it's really important that you put a cross through it, not tick it or circle it or highlight it. Now, I did accept that on this paper because I haven't necessarily gone through proper exam technique with you on this yet. Okay, we'll do that, more of this as we go through, and the more of these that I do, hopefully it will sink in that you need to put a cross through. All right. Now, the next question that you have, some of you got 2 marks on this because we did a debate on this, remember? Okay, so the next question says adult stem cells or embryonic stem cells can be used in medical treatments. Explain why the choice between these 2 types of stem cells can cause issues for doctors. Okay, now here what you need to say, okay, is tell me which one will probably be better for use in medical research, and that's embryonic stem cells, and you have to tell me why. Okay, so embryonic stem cells can differentiate into nearly all cell types, or they are pluripotent, and some of you did tell me that. Well done for remembering pluripotent. Okay. But to use these cells, we have to destroy an embryo, so there are ethical issues surrounding this. So what it's asking you is why it can cause an issue for doctors, okay? And the issue for doctors is the fact that there are ethical considerations surrounding the use of embryos because some people believe that it is killing a life. Okay, some people believe that it is playing God, therefore we shouldn't necessarily be playing around with what we don't know. Okay, and that is their opinion. They're allowed to have that opinion, but that does cause quite a lot of grey area, okay, around the use of embryos in the treatment of some conditions in medical research, which is why some people won't use them. Okay. You could also have answered this question by talking about the converse. Okay, so you could have talked about adult stem cells. You could have said that adult stem cells can become a limited number of stem cells, therefore, limited number of cell types, therefore, they would be able to treat fewer conditions. Now, some of you did say that and you did get the mark for that, but you could also say there are less ethical issues or no ethical issues surrounding that. Okay, so the next question is linking all the way back to some key stage 3 knowledge, because all of this, okay, or the first two, is looking at Mrs. Gren / RN McGurr. Okay, so that is what this question is about. So we've got RN McGurr. I'm trying to remember what that is. Okay, so much easier when it was Mrs. Gren. But it's asking you to describe what two of these things mean. So we're looking at the control and we're looking at the R, one for respiration. And which R you have, I've just highlighted the last one. Okay, now the R one, describe what is meant by respiration. A lot of you put breathing. Okay, now I kind of put this in to assess what you already know about respiration. Turns out it is very little. But I wanted to know how much you remembered from Key Stage 3, because in Year 7, this is what we talk about. In Mrs. Gren, we talk about what respiration means, and it is the release of energy. It's not breathing. Breathing and respiration go hand in hand because I need to breathe to be able to get the reactants for respiration to happen. But respiration is a chemical reaction. It happens in your cells. Okay, and that chemical reaction, the purpose of that chemical reaction is to release energy. Okay, I need to release energy for my cell to be able to carry out any process. If I stop respiring, okay, or if that cell stops respiring, that cell dies. Okay, so respiration is carried out by all living organisms, okay, because that is an essential chemical reaction for life. Okay, so I get 1 mark for telling me that respiration is the release of energy. You cannot get a mark for saying production of energy, because if I think back to energy in physics, energy cannot be created or destroyed. If you are talking about producing energy, you are alluding to the fact that we can make it. We cannot make it. We release it, okay, from bonds, chemical bonds. Okay, that is where my energy is stored. And so when I break down specific substances, mainly glucose, okay, I am releasing the energy that is stored in the bonds. And that is why I say release. I can't say produce. If you say produce for a question on respiration, you will not get the mark. Okay, even if you've mentioned energy, you will not get the mark because you said produce. That's really key here. I want to say release. Always say release when you're talking about respiration. Okay, and the second mark literally comes from the fact that you're talking about a cell. Okay, release of energy within cells. Okay, it's 2 marks in 1 sentence there. Now, the next one is talking about control of internal conditions. That's the C. Okay, what internal conditions do we control and why? Okay, a nice easy one that we talk about when we're talking about enzymes is temperature. We know that the optimal condition for enzymes is 37 degrees, okay? And that is why our body temperature is 37 degrees. And that is why if our temperature goes up to 38 degrees and we have a bit of a temperature, okay, a bit of a fever and we feel poorly, that is why, okay? Because that is destroying our enzymes, okay? And that is what is making you feel poorly, okay? Bear with me a second, guys.